When it comes to all other crimes, it's actually pretty much the same. But on drug crimes, he is correct on that. In 1994, he was actually a proponent of the death penalty, but willing to debate it. But today, he has actually come along to say the death penalty as a public policy is flawed, and half of crime is drug related, and legalizing drugs will cut crime. Strongly favors an absolute right to gun ownership, and as I was saying earlier, he believes that no-fly list is error-prone. Don't use it to deny guns. I completely agree with that. If you look at everything that people can be put on a no-fly list for, it's pretty ridiculous, and I actually completely agree with him on that. Believes laws regarding guns are ineffective. Strongly opposes higher taxes on the wealthy. Wants to replace job-killing tax code with a fair tax. Wants a 23% national sales tax. Reduce state personal income tax from 8.5 to 8%, eliminate corporate income tax as a way to create jobs, and lower the tax burden. Favors pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens, wrong to deport 11 million undocumented from the U.S., make work visas as easy as possible, a 10-foot wall just requires an 11-foot ladder, 2-year grace period for illegals to get work visas, 1 strike and you're out for illegal immigrants who violate terms, and let some but not all illegal immigrants stay in the United States. Strongly favors supporting and expanding free trade. He actually believes NAFTA benefited New Mexico. He's for the TPP. So, he believes, he's a skeptic on some of the agreements, but I think that he really needs to look at the TPP more and NAFTA. They really aren't the best trade deals ever. I'm not against free trade in general, but to be fair, I understand where he's coming from, but I think he does need to be a little bit more open-minded on looking at free trade. He does believe free trade unfairly criticized for becoming crony capitalism. I would agree with him there, but when it comes to the TPP and NAFTA, it's just what they are. It really is. It's just what they are. But one thing that was very positive is when he was governor of New Mexico, he had an 11.6% job growth while governor there in the 90s. He opposes supporting American exceptionalism. He wants to stay in the UN but out of foreign interventions, take our share of Syrian refugees but not too many. America is at peace with the world, so we need to avoid foreign entanglements. He strongly opposes expanding the military, believes we need to cut 20% of our military bases in the U.S. and abroad, cut spending by 43%, but not 1 penny from veteran benefits. We need a 43% reduction in military spending and cut foreign aid as well. Let's see here. He believes that Citizens United, when it comes to the issue of campaign finance, actually protects the First Amendment when it comes to free speech. Money equals free speech. He doesn't believe we need limits on corporate or PAC donations, full disclosure but no limits on it. And he actually won governor in New Mexico in 1994 with $510,000 of his own money. So I respect that, but I do think we really do need to look at that issue a lot more. I think that there is a lot of corruption that goes along behind closed doors on that, so there's a lot more involved with that. He's for avoiding foreign entanglements. He opposed the Iraq War from the beginning. Afghan war initially was warranted, but not for 10 years. Wiped out Al-Qaeda 10 years ago, so leave Afghanistan. A no-fly zone means war, so no regime change in Syria. And believes that we are no safer after years of failed nation building abroad. Let's see what else we got here. He opposes prioritizing green energy. He believes the cap and trade imposes costs with no environmental improvement. Federal regulation makes fracking, coal mining, and nuclear okay. And voluntary partnerships reduce greenhouse gases economically. The big one is he's a strong advocate for ending the drug war and getting marijuana legalized. He believes it's a lot safer than alcohol. He was one of the first governors in the nation to advocate for legalizing pot back in 1999. Drug use is up despite $30 billion spending on the war on drugs, and he believes that drug policy today parallels prohibition in the 1920s. So that is Gary Johnson for you. Now let me go through Jill Stein. And by the way, let me just say, if you want a true conservative, I think Gary Johnson is a much better candidate than Donald Trump is. Because Trump is all over the place. Gary Johnson is a much better candidate, and so I would definitely look a lot more at candidates like him in the future. I know that we're only a day from election day, but in the future, look more at candidates like that if you want a conservative in the White House. Sorry about that. So now I'm going to go over Jill Stein here for you. So she is basically Bernie Sanders on steroids. She is way for abortion, believes offering abortion services free to women at the poverty level needs to happen, healthcare for all, including contraception, strongly in favor of same-sex marriage, believes religious freedom is a surrogate for patriarchal domination. She actually goes above and beyond on a lot of things, in my opinion, but she is very liberal. So if you want a true liberal in there, I think Jill Stein's a better candidate. And I'll go over some more right here. She believes Medicare for all is better and cheaper than Obamacare. I personally think a public option would be a good system to have. It allows people to choose what healthcare system they want. But she's for healthcare for all, believes we need to implement universal, completely against vouchers for school choice, is for Common Core, calls for an end to school privatization, treat education as a right and guarantee tuition-free education preschool through university. Opposes stricter punishment reducing crime, believes the death penalty is ineffective and also barbaric. Judicial system makes mistakes and kills innocent people. Black Lives Matter movement is a vital and logical response to the crime that has occurred. And she actually, when it comes to the issue of guns, she believes Australian gun regulations stop mass shootings. However, at the same time, we have to look at this. The number of guns imported to Australia legally has also risen, including a 24% increase during the past 6 years in the number of registered handguns there. Some of them have diverted back to the black market via theft or corrupt dealers and owners. A 2014 report stated that approximately 260,000 guns are on the Australian grey or black markets. It discussed the potential problem of people using 3D printers to create guns, and that's because they have a handgun buyback program in Australia. So I think that she is dead wrong on that issue, but that's because I'm much more pro-gun in my ideology. So I think that she goes above and beyond liberals, though, on that issue is what I'm trying to say. She believes a gun at home is more likely to cause injury than to defend the home. Again, I couldn't disagree more. Even though I personally don't have a gun, if a person was to come into my home or was to, threaten me, I would want to have something on me to defend myself. And I think that a lot of other people would as well. Now, she is for higher taxes on the wealthy. She actually believes rich should pay 55 to 60% in taxes. Now, currently, they pay 39.6% under the current system. Well, that's what they're supposed to pay. I mean, there's a lot of loopholes that get through it, and so that's why you hear the arguments, they don't pay their fair share. I would just enforce the tax code we have and not want to raise it to that, because that's, in my opinion, is very high and pretty ridiculous there. Increase inheritance taxes and use it as an aristocracy tax. Believes we should have a transaction tax of 0.03% on Wall Street transactions. Wants to end the Bush-Obama recession and ask wealthy to pay their fair share. Make all corporate tax subsidies transparent. And replace trickle-down with 50% tax cuts on lower incomes. Favors a pathway to citizenship for illegal immigrants. Undocumented immigrants are a critical component of the economy. We are deporting more immigrants than ever, 2.5 million under Obama. That is actually true, and you hear Trump all the time saying Obama isn't doing anything on the issue, when in reality he has actually done a lot more. He's actually deported more than, I think, the last 4 or 5 presidents combined. And he's the supposed liberal, and he gets hammered still by the Republicans on that issue, and it's pretty ridiculous. He opposes supporting and expanding free trade. Believe NAFTA destroyed jobs in the U.S. and Mexico. TPP is like NAFTA on steroids. NAFTA is caused by the wave of undocumented immigrants. Opposes supporting American exceptionalism. Believes the U.S. helps create the refugee crisis, so that we should now help them. In the CIA supported coup and regime change in Latin America. Deportation of vulnerable refugees is morally abhorrent. Take 65,000 Syrian refugees immediately, not over 18 months. And U.S. should behave as a member of the world community, no world cop. She strongly opposes expanding the military. She believes that Hillary wants a Syria war and Trump wants more nukes, so both are scary. Wants to cut military 50% and spend that $500 billion on the economy. Bring troops home from 800 bases abroad, and believes we need a peace offensive in the Middle East. Shut down the bases there. Stop funding for F-35 planes and Saudi funding. Cut that. The F-35 planes, I could not agree more. We just are building one right now that required more funding. That plane itself, that one fighter, $1.5 trillion. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. That's ridiculous. Trillion, and that, yes, that's trillion. That's ridiculous. That is insane. The Pentagon is getting way too much money, and so is the military-industrial complex in general. We should cut our military spending 100%, and we should do it today. To the next issue here. She opposes supporting American exceptionalism, wants to take 65,000 Syrian refugees immediately, as I stated earlier. She also believes that we need a national conversation before we go to war, and believes the deportation of vulnerable refugees is horrible. And yeah, that's basically kind of gives you an idea. That's all of supporting American exceptionalism and the military. Kind of gives you an idea on all of those. Strongly favors making voter registration easier. Wants to replace the Electoral College with a national popular vote. I could not agree more with that. That is a very good idea to have there. No money from lobbyists and no money from super PACs. Strongly favors avoiding foreign entanglements. Believes the war on terror has only hurt us and Muslims abroad. Libyan invasion was a catastrophe that inflamed the Middle East. Both wars have cost $6 trillion and 1 million lives, and that's true by the time we end up paying for the veteran health care, as I mentioned earlier. However, she goes on to say stuff like pro-war means anti-feminist. I don't really know where she's coming from there. Again, that's where I believe Jill Stein goes a little bit over the edge on a lot of things, and she becomes way too uberly liberal. She is completely for prioritizing green energy, believes we need sustainable development, and she wants to actually ban GMOs, doesn't even want more research, just wants to ban them in general. Create 20 million jobs by investing in renewables, make wars for oil obsolete, wants 100% renewable energy by 2030. Nuclear energy is dirty, dangerous, and expensive. Believes climate change is humanity's greatest existential threat, and wants to halt any investment in fossil fuel infrastructure. When it comes to the issue of the war on drugs, she wants to end it, believes it's racist, and wants to end the school-to-prison pipeline. Wants to transform from criminal drug system to a public health system. Believes marijuana is dangerous because it's illegal, not vice versa. And wants to reduce the culture of violence via mental health and legal drugs. Last but not least, she believes that guaranteed jobs are needed for all those people who work. We need a Green New Deal and emergency program for 25 million jobs. Believes that the Obama stimulus package was okay, but only made a slight dent in the crisis. So again, you can, disagree with her or Gary or anybody on these issues. But the important thing is I wanted to lay them out for you so you know who and truly to vote for when you come to go to the booth tomorrow. If you're a liberal, I would argue that Jill Stein is much more with that ideology than Hillary Clinton is. If you're a conservative, I would argue that Gary Johnson is a much better candidate. Now, there's other candidates as well as Ed McMullen, and you can search them up as well. But I think I really want to do this video so I can explain all of these issues fully, and not just talk about the corruption and all of the side stuff, like what Trump said about women and stuff like that. Those are non-issues to me, and those should be non-issues to everyone. What needs to be issues is what is actually important to the American people. And this is what they think on that. So please, tomorrow, I urge, I don't care if you support Hillary or Trump, I don't care. But don't vote off the fact that you hate the other. Vote off of the issues. Vote off of what actually is important, not the other side stuff that we have seen for the last 6 months. It's ridiculous. That needs to stop, and that is why I'm happy the election is tomorrow, and we don't have to